Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host, as always, your boy at the desk, your guy Clint. And we are coming off of just an absolutely legendary evening at UFC 291. Needless to say, I am rocking the baby blues. We've got the Die Hard stimulus check and the money chain in full effect today. Folks, we got a new podcast record. We have got a new podcast record. We set this bad boy, I want to say, at the end of 2020 with a 28-unit win in one evening. Blew the doors off it on Saturday. 31.58 units at UFC 291. New record, 31.58 units in one night of fights. We went 10-1 on direct picks, and we smashed the board. Can you guys believe I made 31 units and I dropped 2 on Tony Ferguson? Like, if that tells you what kind of a night we had, I lit 2 units of my money on fire betting on Tony freaking Ferguson and still profited 31 units. It was absolute insanity. And I'm absolutely blown away here right now because of how that whole evening went. I've got a couple things that I want to share with you guys because the major culprit of us having this record-breaking evening was the submission special parlay. We had Miranda Maverick by sub, Jake Matthews by sub, and then it anchored on Kevin Holland by sub, the 3-legger for 58-1 on the odds. Miranda almost ground her way to a decision. That easily could have not happened. Jake Matthews almost got a TKO. They called it a nut shot. That almost didn't happen. Like, everything broke our way for us to hit it. And I was live right here on Pub Sports Radio when it happened. And I'm so sorry. I need to share this moment with you. Tell me it's the Darce.
The Darce is in.
Come on, baby.
Is he in a tap?
Let's go!
Klein, well done.
Kevin Holland,
There we go.
Go! 58! 58-1! The submission special!
That's the people out there that said there's value on Michael Chase and there's not value on Michael Chase. And Kevin Holland is here to arrive. I don't bet on Kevin Holland, but tonight I did.
58-1! 58-1! Let's go!
The shirt's coming off for sure.
No, get in trouble. Don't do it. No.
Let's go!
Yeah.
Go!
It's been like 16 months since we've seen
Black
this.
Beast is next. Black Beast is next.
I'm betting.
Holy
So that is how my evening went. And I just have to say, I am incredibly honored because not only do we have the money in our pockets are heavy and fat today, but we got one big, huge, important shout out because
Owed him this one. Die Hard MMA pod. Clint McLean. So this was the biggest parlay he hit. Miranda Maverick by submission. Jake Matthews by submission. Kevin Holland by submission. Plus 5,800. Turns $30 into $1,785. But he also finished up 32 units on the night. Just an unreal performance by him. He had Derek Lewis as well. He did his best Derek Lewis impression, taking the pants off. And yeah, unbelievable night for him. Huge bounce back here in 2023 for him as well. So shout out.
And what kind of host? What kind of host would I be if I teased you with my best Derek Lewis but didn't show it to you? So that was Saturday, everybody. I could sit here for a good 20 minutes and just keep on just kind of, waxing poetically on how amazing that night was. I think 5 minutes is probably enough of that because I have an amazing and very special guest for you guys this week sitting backstage, ready to come on and attack UFC Nashville because, as you guys know, we celebrate the wins. We own up to the losses. We won the battle last week, but the war continues today. It's in the rearview mirror. I'm excited as shit about it. I erased the memory of last year's minus 70 units. Folks, the last thing I'm going to say before I intro our guest here, and I'm glad I reminded myself because I almost missed it. We are officially up 81 units in 2023. We're up 81 units and the year ain't even over yet. Last year's debacle of my minus 70 unit year, it's gone. We hit the reset button. I thought if I have like a 40, 50 unit year by the end of the year, that was just going to be me being over the moon for that number. That was going to be beyond my expectations. The fact that not only did we do that, we smashed that, and we passed that minus 70 unit hole that I dug myself last year to get right and get the podcast record back in the black at this stage of the game. Oh, it's going to be a good one, folks. It's going to be a good one. So without further ado, you guys know we have had our boy Narco Cop on the show a couple times before from the Lambo Plays podcast, but the Lambo Plays podcast is not complete without the other half of the show. So today, joining us is none other than Big Tim himself, Timothy from the Lambo Plays podcast. Tim, how you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing great, Clint. Thanks for having me on, man. Couldn't be happier for your week and your year this year. Great job.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm just, I'm trying. It's funny because I don't even have like a big head about it. I just can't believe it. You know what I mean? I continue repeating it because of how happy and how relieved and excited I am with everything going on. Tim, how did you do this past week at UFC 291?
Oh, I did really well. First 3 fights, I hit 2 Lambos, hit 4 Lambo plays for the whole card. Won just a little bit over $1,000. It was a really, really good day. Had just a bunch of props that some long shot props as well as you missed a 48-1 on Bonfim KO instead of Bonfim sub as a 3-legger for myself. So it was pretty close.
Dang, dude. Yeah, you were right there too. And just real quick, Tim, for the people. For those who are living under a rock, maybe they're YouTube only, maybe they're not with us over on MMA Twitter. You guys smash. I could ask you how you did last week, almost every single week, and you'd say something similar. The Lambo Parlays podcast, Lambo Plays podcast, has been destroying for the last year and a half. Do you, off the top of your head, know the numbers? What are you guys sitting on right now?
We don't do the numbers. We started doing the numbers this year and keeping track of them this year on where we're at and how many we're hitting, as well as the Lambo parlays. This year we're averaging honestly 3.5 to 4 a card, and it's sometimes even more. We had 6 a couple cards ago, and it's always plus 300 or higher, but sometimes it's I hit a 17-1 on Maverick sub 3. Sometimes they're way higher too. So it's pretty cool.
Dude, it's absolute insanity. So friends of the show, more than happy to have you here with me, my guy. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. We are talking about UFC Nashville this week. Hit that like button for us, all right? We're about to bring you some heat. We're about to give you some plays. As always, we're going to give you our opinions. You are adults. Do with that information what you will, but we're going to provide you as much information as possible so you can make intelligent bets here this week on Saturday. And folks, I do apologize. There are so many of you already in this chat. You know who you are. We're up over 120 live viewers already. So the shout outs, I would never get us back on track to just talk about fights if I started doing them now. So thank you all for being here. You guys know I love you all. I see nothing but the positivity flooding in here in the chat. You guys are the absolute best. Let's go ahead and get straight on into this first fight of the night, Tim. We have got Ode Osbourne taking on Asu Almabaev. I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably not, but that's what I got for you here. We've got an interesting situation here where Asu is making his UFC debut, and he is ever so slightly favored over Ode Osbourne. And I think that's going to ruffle a couple of feathers this week, Tim. I got Asu at minus 150. That was the first bet that I made this week. Went ahead and threw 3 units on Asu money line. He looks to be about minus 175 right now across the majority of the market. And I agree with it. I think he's going to be good, probably up to about minus 200 at this point. And I'm probably going to get pushed back. Ode Osbourne is he's a fun guy. I actually like him. I'm a fan of him and his personality. He's really just seems like a great, upstanding type of dude, a guy that's real easy to cheer for and root for. He's kind of a size bully at this weight class. And the biggest thing for me, man, is his gas tank. Like, he's so big that he just can't keep up a pace over the course of a 15-minute fight. He did show off some improvements. He did show off, some grappling, some wrestling, kind of helping him survive. But I had so much money on Charles Johnson in his last fight. I mean, that I have overestimated Charles Johnson. I'll go ahead and fully admit that I have overestimated him. But I thought that was absolutely the perfect fight for CJ. And I expected him to kind of run through Ode. He took the fight on short notice. His cardio wasn't quite where it needed to be. And then in round 2, Ode took the full 5 minutes on a cup shot, which let him get more than enough gas left in the tank for him to coast out that 3rd round. So that split decision, I felt, arguably still went the wrong way. But it was a very competitive fight where I tried to fade the gas tank of Ode. And I think Asu's the guy to get it done. He's 17-2. UFC seems to be making a push over in Kazakhstan. This kid's 29 years old, training at Kill Clip FC, and he seems to be Shavkat's boy. Like, if you're getting under the wing of Shavkat training, that's something I'm looking forward to when he gets to the UFC. Seems to be very light on his feet. He sits down hard on that right hand of his. He's got excellent body kicks. He likes to rip with those things. He throws that nice spinning heel kick out there. And this kid's powerful. He keeps a good pace. He can go a good hard 15 minutes. The one thing I worry about is him jumping the ghillie. We've seen that happen once or twice. You don't want to be underneath somebody big like Ode Osbourne, but I'm going to take the flyer and hope he's smart enough not to do that, Tim. I think Asu probably wears Ode out, and I'm thinking late sprinkles, maybe round 3 TKO, something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good shot. I think I agree on the cardio is just probably the biggest edge. The wrestling, I mean, he's just looking to grapple against anybody that he has that edge. If he's standing in this fight long term, he's going to probably be trying to kick, and he does a lot of spinning attacks and things like that, where it's not like he attacks the calf. He really doesn't throw a lot of hands. So I kind of expect him to be responsible on that end versus Ode. But like you said, I mean, I just think that this guy's trying to grapple so much against most of the guys that he's fighting. And he tends to be like, it's weird. It just depends on who he fights. He'll be a lay and pray kind of guy until the person opens up their guard. But if they hold him in the guard, like, he'll just stay there all day and just hit a shot, take a shot, and he'll just stay there and wait. And then the second that you make like any move to get up, he's really, really aggressive in passing then, and he'll try to get to mount. He'll try to do damaging things at that point. But this fight could go really, like, I could see it be like if Ode closes his guard, I could see this just be 15 minutes of just accepting that, throwing up arm bars and shit like that, and then him winning like a clear 30-27 decision. But if Ode like tries to get up or tries to do anything with, when he's on his back, he does lay down there a lot. And I think there will be positions for Asu to move. I kind of would lean sub for him over KO, but a positional KO would be there. But I'm hoping that they give a sub line, a pretty good sub line on him for later in the fight.
Okay. All right. So you and I are kind of similarly thought processed here on this one. I lean KO, you lean sub. I'm just glad we're on the same guy to start. One thing I did forget to mention, I love Asu's underhooks. Like, the couple times that we have seen him like jump ghillie and end up stuck on bottom of somebody, he's super aggressive and urgent about getting back up to his feet. And the kid is strong. Like, if he's got an underhook, he can bench you off him to get back up. And that's something that I like to see. Because if you do take that risk on the regional scene for that flashy finish and it doesn't go your way, if you're stuck on your back for the rest of the round and never get back up, big red flag, big concern once you get to the UFC level. But the fact that he knows what he's doing, he knows where his bread is buttered and can get back up to his feet and keep fighting up there if he needs to. I like everything I see from this kid. All right, so we are in alignment early this evening, and folks, we already got to pump the brakes. I got a couple things for you. First and foremost, I was watching out for this guy. I was keeping an eye out for my guy, Ethan Hershey. He pulled right on through. We have had back-to-back bets, and I gave him 2 shots a couple weeks ago when he won a head-to-head. He gave me an opportunity to go ahead and get even. He took Priscilla Cachoeira, and I did take our girl Miranda Maverick. So he's stuck with the Maverick profile picture for this week. Thank you very much, Ethan. I was looking forward to seeing you here this evening. And next up, Holy crap. We've got a $9.99.99 dono from Porco. What is going on, Porco? Thank you very much for the donation here at Pub Sports Radio. That means a ton. We're going to keep bringing you the best betting content and keeping it free for everybody. That kind of a donation goes a real long way to supporting us here and what we do. So thank you so much for that. The next fight up is gonna be, and let me see if I see they always mess with me, Tim. They do this to me every damn time. Because so for whatever reason, we're like limited here on our screens or whatever, so I can't show off. There we go. We'll just do it that way. I guess I hate it, but we'll do it that way. Jake Hadley returns against Cody Durden. And before I start the breakdown here on this one, I gotta just tell you guys a little story here. You guys know that I've bet against Cody Durden several times. When we do these podcasts and shows, first and foremost, I'm an MMA fan. I got started betting because I loved the sport. I love the sport. I'm a huge fan of every single person that steps in that cage. I've got nothing but respect for these fighters. But we all have our favorites. We all have people we like. We all have people that rub us the wrong way. And we have to be super honest with ourselves when it comes to what they can and can't do, where their weaknesses are, things like that. And when I started the show, Tim, I never expected people to catch my breakdowns on Twitter. I never expected professional MMA fighters to be able to find tweets of shit that I've said and things like that. Well, Cody Durden went ahead and saw that apparently I bet against him the last couple of times out. And it's funny because he's boys with my guy Dan Levy from Half the Battle. And since we follow each other, the algorithm, I think, keeps getting me on Durden's feed. And it's completely unintentional. But he did kind of let me have at it. He was like, "You're a hater, bro. I always see your shit on my timeline. What the fuck?" And like, he was like going off on me. And of course, all the Durden backers who don't know me are like lining up on Twitter right behind him to take my head off in the comments and shit like that. And I'm like, bro, I'm just a guy who picked the fight wrong. Like, I swear it's nothing personal. I swear I'm not a hater. I just picked the other guy. That's all that happened here. So I'm sorry. But this is like the third or fourth time that's happened. So just be careful.
Yeah, it's never, you never pick a side. It's always the same. The fighters that follow you, you're always picking against them for some reason. It's weird how it works.
Every damn time, dude. It drives me nuts because I'm like, I want to support you. But so Cody Durden, we're beefing apparently. No, I'm just kidding. But 15-4-1. He's a little too old to be called a prospect, I feel like, at this point. But his last couple fights, training at ATT, he's done the high risk, high reward thing. Like, he knows he's older. He knows he's got to make up some ground here, and he's taking these opportunities to try to get where he needs to be. Relentless, high-paced grappling. I mean, the 11 takedowns in his last fight against Charles Johnson was phenomenal. And I just talked about how I overestimated Charles Johnson. I expected Charles Johnson to beat the brakes off Cody Durden too. The big thing for me was Durden's got a bit of a cardio issue. Like, even though he's got that relentless pace grappling, he just falls off a cliff like halfway through round 2. What he did in his last fight, though, against Charles Johnson was he went full Aljamain Sterling. Like, he started flowing the wrestling with the grappling, back takes, body triangles. It allowed him to control his opponent, reset, catch his breath. Then in the third round, I mean, he didn't have anything left, man, but he hung on for dear life. He won a decision because he was able to just hang on to Charles Johnson, and Johnson didn't have an answer for the position. So it's a spot where I feel like my read on Cody Durden is relatively accurate. I think I know where this guy's ceiling is, but he's done just enough to win some damn fights, and that's his job, and he needs to be commended for that. And the UFC's throwing him in here against Jake Hadley, 10-1. You know, his only loss was a super disappointing UFC debut where the Dana White's Contender Series fade came on through on Nascimento there. 26 years old. This kid is super young. We need to expect big improvements from him. He is a fast starter. I mean, he comes out the gates and he's throwing hands, man. Slick boxing, really stiff, intelligent jab, constant pressure cooker on the feet. That nasty chopping leg kick that he throws out there, he likes to attack his opponent's body. I love everything about the game of Jake Hadley. The problem is his takedown defense is suspect. He's slick on his back. He's a BJJ brown belt. He's got a lot of attacks from bottom. He's aggressive with triangles and arm bars, and he jumps guillotine if he needs to. But the problem, again, is he can get stuck there. He's more than willing to fight off his back, and he doesn't really do a good job defending takedowns because of it. I really want to see his takedown defense improve. He's so good on the feet. I would prefer him to stay standing and beat the brakes off people instead of jumping and looking for subs down off his back. So Jake Hadley's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot. The trick here is I think the UFC is setting up a decent test for Jake because he needs to be able to beat guys that can do this. And the Achilles heel of Cody Durden has been that submission, man. He's got 3 losses by sub. And honestly, I can understand why people are taking the stab at Cody Durden. I get it. This feels like a perfect opponent to take advantage of what we've seen Jake Hadley be pretty bad at. Plus 145 for Cody Durden, minus 175 for Jake Hadley. The problem for me, Tim, I hate the line. I absolutely hate the line. But I think Jake Hadley's going to find the win. Whether it's in the second or in the third round when Durden finally starts to edge off and slow down, or if he just clips him before the takedowns really get going, I kind of think Jake Hadley's going to find a way to win this fight and pass this test.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that Durden's if you told me Durden's on full camp in this fight, that would be a huge factor for me. Him being on short notice just kind of elevates all of the issues that you said about his cardio and his game plan to win this fight. I was huge on Nascimento money line, and I was huge on Nascimento by decision in that fight versus Hadley for the exact reasons that you're saying. I do feel that Nascimento's cardio and I feel like his jiu-jitsu is better than Cody Durden's to be able to hold him down after he gets him down. The thing about Cody, like you're saying, is that as he gets tired, he just makes so many mistakes. And that's really, I just feel like he's going to be winning this fight until he loses it. And that's why I don't want to take a shot on that at this stage in the game. So yeah, Hadley, I honestly don't even have a clue. I think the sub is the obvious play, but like, I don't know what round, because it really could be early. It could be early when they're dry, and it could be he catches them. But I actually lean later, like you do as well. But I really do think it could be at any point. But I feel like he's going to make a mistake at some point grappling and probably get caught.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, man. And one thing people maybe forget is, I know he won the Charles Johnson fight, but you guys remember his post-fight speech? He gets up there and he's yelling in the microphone and he's like, "For some reason, my arm's numb." So I got to give the guy credit again for doing his job and the insane mental toughness it takes to power through something like your body shutting down in the middle of a fight. But that's a red flag. Like, if you're gassing so hard that your arm is going numb in the third round of an MMA fight, I thought Charles would be able to take advantage of it. I think I think Jake Hadley is going to be the one that actually gets to take advantage of it. So yeah, man, I'm liking those late round props. We'll see what numbers we get when they drop. Obviously, folks, right now we don't have props, so we can kind of speculate. You'll have to keep an eye out for those when they kind of drop. Wednesday-ish sometimes, I think, maybe Thursday, depending on your book. So everybody just keep. FanDuel, I was going to say, how early do you usually see the props?
FanDuel and DK. FanDuel's the best for props, so I usually wait. They usually hang the best line. So you see like a Bet Online gives like a 3-1 or 4-1 in the sub. You can expect like 5-1 on FanDuel.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we will keep an eye out for that. My guy Dixon in the chat real quick, shouting out. I just saw the WWP guys literally just started promoting Bet openly as well. That's what's up. Just to be clear, for the record, Adaptation, definitely a great platform. You were the first pioneer. That's what's up, Dixon. So, yep, as you guys may or may not know, holy shit, Tim, we got 200 live viewers already. Like, for this kind of a fight night card, not a pay-per-view or something, 200 live viewers is nuts. So thank you all so much for being here. Smash the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio, please. And yes, the show is brought to you by Bet Openly. I will explain that when we pay the bills and we do our ad segment here in just a little bit. But thank you, Dixon, for the shout out. They really are freaking awesome. If you guys haven't tried Bet Openly, you guys need to check it out. Next up, Billy Q returns, taking on Damon Jackson. And it's funny. I talked about how I got caught by Cody Durden, and he was talking shit online to me. Damon Jackson is another notable UFC fighter that has run me the absolute ringer for picking a fight incorrectly. And again, Cody Durden, maybe not so much. I'm lukewarm on the guy, but I love Damon Jackson. I've been such a huge fan of Damon Jackson for so long, and he just let me have it because I picked against him. And I want to say it was against Pat Sabatini. That's the one I think that I picked against him.
It's the wrong one to pick against him.
That was the wrong night to pick against him, dude. And then, unfortunately, I loaded up and went right back to the well. I almost didn't bet Dan Ige for fear that he was going to come after me again after proving me wrong the fight before. So that was a scary moment to post a tweet because I just didn't want to deal with it. But you've got Billy Q. You know, both these guys coming off of bad losses, man. Billy Q was knocked out 4 months ago. Just the nastiest, perfectly timed knee from Barboza. And for the record, it looked like Billy was melting Barboza in that spot, Tim. Like his weaponized cardio, that pace, that pressure, it really looked like it was starting to do work on Barboza, and he just dipped his head at the wrong time. This is MMA, folks. Shit happens. Like Billy Q is super tough. He's super durable. He's only been knocked out twice in his entire UFC career. BJJ black belt, Ben Davis's favorite fighter. Shout out Ben the Vein. So, I mean, what else could you want? He's 34 years old, so he's getting a little bit up there. I actually thought he was younger. Like in my head canon, I thought he was 31 or something like that. I thought he had a little bit longer. So he kind of needs to get on the horse and get the ball rolling if he wants to have a shot at the title, crack into contendership, things like that. But I love his jab. He's always walking opponents down. He'll just eat whatever you throw at him and keep coming forward. Insane pace. 7.86 significant strikes per minute. Billy Q throws. Insanity. 58% takedown defense. That needs some work. But again, aforementioned BJJ black belt, it's worked out for him to grapple sometimes. And he's been alternating wins and losses since 2020, Tim. He's coming off an L. So if that's your style, the win is all but assured that Billy Q is going to bounce back here in this spot. But Damon Jackson, also 34 years old, training out of Fortis MMA. He's a BJJ guy who has really rounded out his striking. What we've seen from him on the feet lately has been honestly really impressive. He's got some underrated power. I didn't expect him to be able to hit quite as hard as he does. He's got a solid right hand. The problem for me with Damon Jackson is he's slow. Like on the feet, he can hit hard. The technique is there. The skill is there. But he's slow. It's like he's moving in molasses when he fights somebody who's quick. And that was my main angle for betting on Ige, was the hand speed difference. And I think Billy Q is going to have something similar here in this spot. Obviously not quite as extreme. But Damon Jackson was also deaded by Ige, 6 months ago? Guys, I personally like to see a fighter take 6 to 9 months off after getting a really bad knockout, especially at this stage or this age of their career. And both these guys are making quick turnarounds, which makes me wonder, either we're going to see a shit ton of grappling or somebody might still not be over the concussion symptoms and have trouble taking shots in this fight. Makes it very, very dangerous in my opinion, Tim. I'm going to have to side with Billy Q. I think he kind of does what he was doing to Barboza, and Jackson just doesn't have the same type of firepower to return. Now, Jackson has done really well with his wrestling lately. We've seen him just kind of lay on people. You know, when Arwetta came up, now he was coming up a weight class, obviously, so different dynamic there. He was much bigger, much larger, and was able to hold that guy down. But he did it with Camwella Kirkhill. So maybe there's some threat that Damon Jackson is able to kind of lay on Billy Q in this spot. I just don't think he can keep up with that pace. And Billy working, even from his back, I think will eventually start to tire out Damon Jackson. He'll get back up to his feet. He'll keep working. And whether it's a decision or, again, just kind of a classic Billy Q late finish, I think he's going to be the one walking away with his hand raised.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I don't really see a lot. I mean, I know it's a closely lined fight. I'm hoping that people buy in a little bit more on Jackson for whatever reason that they can see on this. I mean, obviously, I think the only thing is the takedown defense for Billy Q, but it's kind of like a part of his game. I mean, like it's kind of like these guys that get taken down and they work you, and he works and keeps making you do the same thing and rinse and repeat. And if you don't have the cardio to do that, then he gets up and he just volumes you to death. So cardio bullies, I love cardio bullies. Yeah. I love cardio bullies versus guys that have 100% finished rate. Like they lose every single fight being finished. So yeah, it's hard to see. I really don't think this is close on the feet at all. I think that this is a situation where Damon just reacts to punches in the worst way. And don't. I mean, like it's just one of those situations where I think eventually, I don't even know if it's. I mean, I honestly, like you're saying, I don't even know that it's late round. I mean, I think if he doesn't have grappling success early, which I think he probably will, but if he doesn't get him out or get him down, like he gets finished in round 1 a lot. I mean, like he does if he doesn't have success. I think he's been finished in round 1. I think twice. Round 2, I think he. Let's see. Yeah, round 1 twice, round 2 twice. So I mean, like. He's been finished in round 3 once. I feel like it could be early, but it just really depends on the success that he has grappling, because the second that Billy lands a few on him, I just don't like the way that he reacts to getting hit. So I do lean like round 2, probably maybe early round 3, if Damon has any success. The Sadiq Youssef. Did you see the Sadiq Youssef breakdown on this fight?
No, not yet. I try to keep my earmuffs on and not listen to anybody talk until I chat with my guest first, and then I lock in plays, and then I start listening. And I know Sadiq is not like a real breakdown guy. He's hilarious, by the way. I'm
just pissing my
crossing
pants
my fingers to get him on the pod one day. But no, what did he say?
It was so great. It was like, we have a guy named Damon Jackson, and this guy is white. So we have a first Damon Jackson ever that's white, and it was fun. I was just like dying.
Nice. I like it. The old AA Ron.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, that's it. So we're all on Team Billy Q here. He opened up. I was seeing like minus 175, I think, a little earlier. We might be in trouble, Tim. He's already minus 180, I'm seeing. Yeah. So I think it's going the direction that we are leaning. And we probably want to get in on it if we're playing it sooner than later, just because I was with you. I was kind of hoping people were going to be on the Damon Jackson side of things. Doesn't seem like it's going to go that way, unfortunately. So we might want to get that line while it's fresh. And real quick, folks, before we go on to the next fight, I've got to shout out my guy, The Sports Keg. Jay was on the podcast last week. He was last week's guest for UFC 291. My guy and me have been DMing it up for years now. I finally got him on the show, and we destroyed that breakdown. We absolutely crushed last week. But not only that, Tim, and I'm going to keep saying this until you guys go follow the man. He is the best NASCAR player I've ever seen in my life. So I've got fat pockets after UFC 291, and this man does a live betting show on NASCAR for Sundays. Folks, I have never watched NASCAR in my life, and about 9 months ago, I started tailing my guy Keg. I have very affectionately tagged his show the Sunday Bailout, because if I had a bad night on UFC, this man makes me money on Sunday and gets it all back for me. He hit an 80-1, Tim. 80-1 driver on Sunday.
Insane.
I mean, I went from stacks to stacks this weekend thanks to my guy Keg. So you guys make sure you follow him. And just even if you're bored on Sunday and you don't even like NASCAR, trust me, give it 2-3 weeks of betting with him. You'll be a NASCAR fan.
That's what I was telling you before the show. I was saying, like, after, following Sports Keg and you last week and you hitting 31.58 units is like the guy that has to follow Martin Luther King Jr. after his I Have a Dream speech. Like, what in the fuck? This is great. You make like 12 units this week. You're like, I don't know. It's okay week.
It's tough, man. It's like the comedy club. The guy absolutely just like slays, and you got to go up in the expectation. It's all good. We're going to kill it this week too, Tim. I have no doubt. All faith here. All right, everybody. Next up, we've got Jeremiah Wells taking on Carlston Harris, a fight I did not know I needed until they announced it, Tim. This fight is phenomenal. So we've got Jeremiah Wells, who's one of these monster tanks, right? He's short. He's wide. He is all muscle. He's Philly Gracie. So as everybody in the chat knows, I must bet against him because I got a thing, I got to hate on Philly for some reason. Inside joke, by the way, for those of you who didn't know about that, I went on a stretch of like 6 months where I just naturally bet against every Philly Gracie guy on every single card. And I started getting called out for it in the chat. And I was like, oh shit. Like I didn't even know I was doing it. So I love both these guys. They're so fun. Wells is 4-0 in the UFC. 3 of those wins by finish. He is insanely explosive. He's a BJJ black belt. And Tim, honestly, I'm not even sure if he's a good wrestler. He's just so fucking strong that people can't defend the double leg. Like, I don't even know if his technique is good, really, because there's nothing you can do. Once he gets his hands on your legs, you're going for a ride. 100% takedown defense on 2 attempts. So that's a stat that you guys need to, if people quote that at you, take it with just a little grain of salt. Like, only 2 people have even tried. So he's got 100% takedown defense with only 2 people trying to get there. I still, to this day, wonder kind of what he looks like in the UFC off of his back. I'm not sure what his back jiu-jitsu game looks like, but his top game is insane. Good, solid ground and pound, smashing top pressure, nice passes. If he gets into like that half guard spot, he'll just sit on your leg. You're not going anywhere. You're fucked if you're under Jeremiah Wells in half guard. Now, Carlston Harris, he's like the exact opposite. He's tall, he's long, he's lanky. Same story, though. Made a splash in the UFC when he got here. He smoked his early competition. 3 straight round 1 finishes. His only loss in the UFC was to freaking Shavkat. Like, you can't knock him for that. He's got a fantastic resume so far. He's got big old meat hooks for hands. Like, those things look like they hurt when he lands punches, and his grip strength is off the charts because he's just got these massive palms. And he plays really well at range, Tim. His striking against Jared Gooden in his last fight really impressed me. He did a good job of using his length. He was relaxed and smooth, very light on his feet, long jab that keeps his opponent at range. And then he kind of has almost a tomahawky clubbing right hand when they get into range, where he'll change the distance on that long looping punch and make sure he cracks you with it no matter where you're sitting. I love his stances, and he slides back out of range very smoothly as well. Harrison is 3 inches taller, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. Both guys 36 years old. So it's kind of a competitive fight here in this spot, the way these guys are lined up. And you have got Jeremiah Wells, the minus 155 favorite, Carlston Harris, the plus 135 underdog. I was not expecting the line to look like that. And at the same time, I'm still kind of shook as far as what I want to do. I don't know what to make of this fight, Tim. If Jeremiah Wells is stuck on the feet with Harris, I think he's in trouble. We saw him get rocked against Matt Semmelsberger in his last fight. Now, he was able to dig deep through that, get on the legs, get the takedown, get on top of him. He won a split decision in that spot. But in round 1, he got dropped twice. So it's not like he's invincible, right? And someone who can hit the way that Harris does, I think he could crack him. I think Harris absolutely could crack Jeremiah Wells. But I'm also at the point in my life that I just don't need to question Jeremiah Wells anymore. So he absolutely can come into this fight and win it. I'm not sure what it looks like, though. If Carlston Harris is able to defend the takedowns, I think Wells is kind of screwed. So I lean dog or pass at this point, but I don't have a bet, and I don't have a conviction enough to pull the trigger right now. I would love to hear your thoughts, man.
I'm with you. I think that this fight is really interesting. I think both of these guys are extremely, extremely dangerous. Everywhere the fight can go. They're both opportunistic finishers. And they just have different body types. So I'm really interested to see how this fight goes. My instincts are telling me that I just think that Jeremiah's like his power is big enough that he doesn't give a shit about like just winging a huge shot to get himself into position like a lot of like wrestle boxers do. And I mean, Harris is one kind of liability that I feel like I've seen is he can get bonked, like he can get hurt on the feet. So I don't know. I lean Wells, not super duper confidently, but I think the best play in this fight is the under 2.5. I feel like somebody's gonna die. I'm pretty confident both of these guys are finishers. Like they have finishing natures. If a decision happens, I probably would lean it being like Harris decision and he doesn't finish Wells and like he's able to either stay on the feet or maybe have some positions. But it's really, it's a very small percentage of my mind that I think that the fight doesn't finish. So I kind of think that somebody's going to die. And I do think that I would lean Jeremiah finishes him, but not super confident really. I just feel like I do feel like that the wrestling, like you're saying, there are different styles of wrestling and different ways of getting the fight to the ground. Like Harris is like body lock trip type dude. And I feel like body locking and tripping Wells is just that is not going to work. So I feel like you're going to have to be, you know, like it's a battle like where a guy's going to be way taller and he's just not going to have any leverage to get that done. And I feel like as soon as he gets into any position like that, that Wells is just going to be physically stronger, just drop a level, and then he's going to be down on the ground. Now, what happens from that? That's where I think they're both slick on the ground. I do feel like Harris's size on the ground and his length on the ground might give Wells a little bit more trouble than he's used to, but he's just so physically strong and he passes so well. I lean like he'll eventually get into a position, either get a mount or have a, you know, something on the ground that's really, you know, he can finish off.
Yeah, maybe a good call just to play violence here in this spot. Both these guys are such prolific finishers. It's not a bad call. So Carlston Harris, 75% takedown defense. Only 2 guys have even attempted on him. One was Impa, who went 0 of 1 before getting sent to the Shadow Realm. And then Shavkat actually went 1 of 3. So I'm going to go back, Tim. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the Shavkat fight. And I'll be honest with you guys. When I'm crunching for these kinds of shows, I don't get to watch every second of every fight. And as I kind of remember things and get curious throughout the week, I'll go back and I'll do additional research. I'll dive further in. And that's why sometimes I'll add plays throughout the week. You'll see me tweeting stuff. If you want my actual like bets rather than just the breakdown and the picks, you'll find those on social media. I didn't watch the Shavkat fight again, Tim. I didn't, because it's 1 round and I know Shavkat nuked him. So like in my brain, I was like, I remember that fight. Looking back at the numbers and the stats, I'm like, oh, he actually defended a couple takedowns there. That could be my key in this fight. That could absolutely be the key to whether or not I want to take a dog shot on Carlston Harris, is watching the takedowns he defends from Shavkat. So I'm going to do a little bit more digging for you guys before I finalize there on that one. Tim and I, a little dissension, leaning opposite directions in this one, but we both think violence is always the answer. Next fight up, we have got Hani Barcelos welcoming back Kyler the Matrix Phillips. Tim, I've never liked Kyler Phillips. I really haven't. He's a guy that when he popped for Osterine, I was like, of course this guy's on steroids. Like, of course this guy is on something, because it's unreal. It's not attainable what he does. The way he moves and flows and how explosive he is and how the cardio just never dies off. It's like, that's not human. I suspected, obviously no proof, but I suspected that he was an abuser far before he got caught for it. And it's just, I don't know, his attitude, and it's always been something that's bothered me. He always has rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm a little bit of a Phillips hater. And this fight comes down to the drugs for me. I'll be honest with you. What's he gonna look like after a PED suspension? Now, it's been about a year since he's been off from the UFC. Short turnaround for a guy who popped. But what does he look like? You know, the lab is an amazing gym. They do real well, good coaching staff. The skills are there for this kid. Footwork, speed. He hits hard, good side-to-side movement, sets traps, explosive double legs. He scrambles well. He rolls well with punches when he gets hit by people. He's tough to tag. He's tough to hurt. He's tough to put away. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here in this spot over, you know, what might be a fading Hani Barcelos. But I just don't know what to expect. Because if that was him being an athlete and something like Osterine was just kind of putting him up over the edge, then he rolls here. But if the Osterine was what was allowing him to keep that pace and hit that hard all this time, he's going to look like a different guy coming back this week. And I want nothing to do with a big old chalky favorite when I have no idea if he's going to look anything like he did the last time I saw him. Kyler Phillips is a minus 200 favorite, and Hani Barcelos, poor guy, is coming off being deaded stiff by my guy, cousin Umar Nurmagomedov. And just, Tim, I'm so sad. I don't know, we're not at the main event yet, but I have a 50-1 Umar to be champion by the end of 2023 ticket that I just... Ugh. It was all falling so perfectly. The UFC saw the kid. He got a big highlight reel finish. He was supposed to be main eventing this week for a #1 contenders shot. Like, it was there, Tim. People laughed at me, but at 50-1, it was right there for him to have the opportunity on a big end of year card to be challenging for the title against Sean O'Malley or some shit. I was this close, but he's young. They know he's the future of the division, so he got hit with an injury, and they're just going to keep him out until he recovers. That's smart. It's like Wonder Boy pulling out of the fight last week. It's smart. From the fighter perspective, I cannot knock it. It's a very intelligent decision for your career. You're protecting your longevity, but it sucks for me. So I am sad. But Hadi Barcelos is this guy that, like, he's so good everywhere, but he's not excellent anywhere. At 36 years old, the cracks are starting to show. He can do everything really good. He's going to be a great measuring stick for these up-and-coming fighters is basically what it amounts to. 93% takedown defense. He's lost by sub once. He's lost by KO once. And the KO was just that gorgeous hidden hook from Umar. You can't expect a lot of people are going to replicate that necessarily. But this guy, excellent submission defense. Big, powerful punches. I like the heat that he throws with. He can keep that pace up for 15 minutes. It's hard to find a chink in the armor on Hadi Barcelos. So, dog or pass? I mean, I can't bet on Kyler Phillips until I see him do what he does, piss and clean.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler Phillips, I think I've actually I made a big bag on him by sub against Rojo, and then nice. I kind of feel like he won the Paiva fight and lost the Song Yadong fight, and those results were flipped. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if he's kind of overrated. Don't know. I don't really have a great read on Kyler Phillips. I feel like Barcelos is. I mean, if you said that this fight was 2 years ago, I probably would be, and you have the same line, I'd be hammering the shit out of this line. But obviously, after watching a couple of the last 2 years of his fights, and he's on a decline. It's pretty obvious. He just doesn't seem to have the same juice, explosiveness, quickness. He's going to be at a speed disadvantage here. All that being said, though, it's like he's not bad anywhere. Like, so it's like one of those situations you say, all right, does Kyler, does Kyler have a ton of success getting him down to the ground? Most likely not. So this fight standing for 15 minutes, I kind of think end split is going to be good here, waiting for that line. I think it's just Kyler fights close. Barcelos is not the kind of guy that gets run off usually unless he's fighting Victor Henry, who threw out like a million punches that fight. So I don't know. I think that this fight could be really close. I think that this is kind of like a classic end split type of fight. So I'll be looking for that line whenever it comes out. But okay. It is a dog.
I don't mind that call.
Yeah, it is a dog or pass from a money line's perspective. I don't think you can put Kyler and pay the juice and pay what you're having to pay for. Obviously, the youth and just the layoff is not good. A year and a half layoff, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I like that call, man. I like that call. If you've got a book that has those split decision props, they usually start at like plus 400. And if it's a women's MMA fight, they'll take it down to like plus 350 or something because we know those end in split so often. But for these types of men's fights, especially if they're expecting someone to get a finish, you can get some juice. You can get plus 500, plus 600. Like sometimes that's a pretty good number. So I don't mind that whatsoever, Tim. I like the call. And then shout out here, Rusty saying that Hani on the ground is way better than Kyler on the ground. I don't know. I mean, he's serviceable on the ground. Don't get me wrong, but I think Kyler's scramble ability might be the thing that carries him there. Tough call. Real tough call. And my guy Cake saying it was a good bet regardless. Thank you, buddy. I will be reloading on it next year, I think. Depending on the number, obviously, when we start talking MMA futures again in January, depending on what number they hang for me, I expect to go back to the well on a Umar to be champion by the end of the year future next year. But unfortunately, both the guys I needed to fade, which were Merab and Cejudo, might be back from their surgeries and be back in the mix. That's going to make it harder to cash next year. All right. Real quick, everybody. The usual, got to pay some bills here for you guys. Shout out the sponsors. First and foremost, Pub Sports Radio, our home right here for the Die Hard MMA podcast. Make sure you guys check out the website. We do a free weekly picks contest. You can sign up right here on the website for free. Top place, $100 every single week. Pick your fighter, the round, the method, and all you got to do is beat the pub personalities and everybody else who entered. Just this past week, our guy, the boss man here, Sergeant Slaughter, he doubled the pot. For UFC 291, the winner got $200 this week instead of just $100. Like I said, free entry, sign up. And real quick, if you guys trusted your balls and you rocked with me on Derek the Black Beast Lewis, you can find my merch shop. The link will be in the description down below. If you guys want to get yourself a Die Hard MMA shirt, that's a real good way to support me in the show here if that's something you're interested in doing. I've got some other designs and stuff up here as well, so make sure you check that out for me. Spectation Sports for regional scene MMA. Promo code DieHard gets you 20% off. They have been absolutely killing it with these awesome shows. Maverick MMA 24 is coming up, I think, in just like a week, and they've got an epic show for that. We see Aries FC on here. They've been a lot of young up-and-comers that we keep an eye on for Dana White's Contender Series, and then UFC level dropouts that we get to see on these shows. So make sure you sign up, Die Hard MMA Pod. Die Hard is the code for 20% off. Finally, Spectation Sports. These guys have models. They've got articles. They've got coaches who are professional, actual sports gamblers who pay their rent by betting on things. And if you want to join that Discord, this place has been really good to me. It's been epic. They've got awesome baseball looks, big parlays, and then, of course, all the analytical stuff that I don't do or have access to for all the other sports that you might enjoy, like baseball, basketball, football. Check out the Sharp app. The big one, folks, here we go. Bet openly. Brand new. You guys have to learn about Bet openly. So there are people out there that gamble and they get limited when they win, right? The books say you're too good. We got to shut you down. That doesn't happen here at Bet Openly because this is peer-to-peer betting, folks. That means we are cutting out the middleman. Instead of laying minus 110 on a pick'em fight, you're getting even money plus 100, and the winner pays the 1% juice for us to go head-to-head with each other instead of paying the bookie. Bookies try to balance out their books by having enough people on both sides that they win no matter what. Form allows us to go bet against each other, and everybody gets better odds for it. So I gave somebody plus 294 on Priscilla Cachoeira, a number that you couldn't get hardly anywhere else because it's 1% juice. You can create a bet with everyone, single bet. Check out these lines, these odds. Of course, you've got a whole bunch of different sports, but I mean right here as a perfect example, Kyler Phillips is minus 200. We just talked about it. That's market average. You're only laying minus 185 if you use Bet Openly. And then you can actually move the line. So if you want to make it more enticing and set it better for somebody else, acts exactly like a sports book. You've got your account balance up here, which I probably shouldn't show you guys that. And then the wager amount here, it's that simple. I'm going to have a code for you guys. Do me a favor. If nothing else, like I've said before, every single week, just click the link for me. Make sure you check it out because it's a wonderful tool. And the more bettors who are on there, the better for all of us. Trust me, this is going to be the future. You guys want to get in there and have it as an option. But if you're just doing your boy a favor, just click the link. It's good engagement for me. It helps me out as far as the sponsorship goes. Thank you very much to Bet Openly for sponsoring the show. Let's get right back into these breakdowns. Tim, we have paid the bills. We are ready to go. Let's make some money. The next fight up, we're talking about Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Ľudovít Klein. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Ignacio Bahamondes is my guy from the intro. If you guys know that spinning heel kick KO that is on that intro we see week in and week out. I love that shot so much. Poor Roosevelt Roberts having a tough time on the new season of Dana White's Contender Series. But this is my guy. I absolutely love Ignacio Bahamondes. He is young. He is fresh. He is hungry, and he's a beast. 14-4 at 25 years old. Tons of experience. Massive for the weight class. I think the UFC's got him listed at 6'3". He's a huge 155er, and he just storms his way into the perfect range. Like, he's getting really good, Tim, at making sure his opponents stay right where he wants them to be. The Trey Ogden fight, that guy, like, literally just gave up and was like, I'm just going to do whatever it takes not to get knocked out here. Like, that was everybody and their mom was on inside the distance for Ignacio Bahamondes, and Ogden was like, oh, no, I'm not going to try to win. I'm just going to make sure I don't take any damage for the rest of this fight. So it was actually, in my opinion, a really good thing to see Ignacio put together a full 15-minute fight. He showed us he kind of turned that corner in his career, right? He can keep up the pace. He can keep up a game plan for a solid 15 minutes, and for a young fighter, that's something you need to see at some point. So that was an excellent step in the right direction there for him. I love his spinning heel kicks. He's got excellent timing on those, and he kicks like a freaking mule. He cuts off the cage really well. He's always touching, and then he'll sit on something big. I love that he flusters his opponents with these soft tip-tap type of punches, and then he rocks the crap out of you. I love everything about this kid. 3-inch reach advantage here. Ľudovít Klein, Liam picks fights. Never seen him and Ľudovít in the room at the same time. just, suspicious. This might be Liam on the weekends where he needs to pick up an extra buck. 19-4-1, 28 years old. I actually thought Ľudovít was a little older than that, but I don't know what to make of this guy, Tim. He stormed on the scene with that highlight reel left head kick, and I thought we had a monster on our hands. He really quickly went from being like this explosive kickboxing striker to like a boring wrestle-fuck grinder. Like, he realized real quick that he wasn't going to be striking with some of these boys and started sitting on top of people instead, hanging on for dear life. It's a little disappointing. Obviously, that big left kick is still there, but he's a bit of a one-trick pony with it now on the feet. It doesn't seem like he has much else outside of that left body, left side head kick. I mean, he hits hard with his hands, but his boxing is limited, I guess I want to say. He had a hard time finding Jai Herbert in his last fight, Tim. He had a really tough time just tracking that guy down based on his movement. And then when he finally did catch him and he got a takedown, he got his ass beat from inside the guard. Like, Jai Herbert won the round off his back with like elbows and constant attacks, throwing up triangles, and then he hurt him with an up kick. I mean, it was almost a knockout. Like, this guy flopped down inside the guard to like protect his head because he got up kicked so bad it almost ended the fight. I went from being enamored with Ľudovít Klein to thinking he's going to flare out probably in just a couple of fights. I think this is a good measuring stick. The UFC wants to see just where Ignacio Bahamondes is, kind of lead him along the right way, slowly, steadily. This is a guy who will kickbox with him. This is a guy who's dangerous, who can hit really hard. This is a guy who can wrestle, who can pin you on your back and keep you stuck there for a little while. It's got all the danger points, but they're at just that right level where I'm pretty sure Ignacio just passes this test. So I like Ignacio Bahamondes here. He is slowly creeping up. The line is worrisome to me. I feel like they should have just opened him higher. I kind of feel like the bookies are almost inviting the action on this one a little bit. It seems like maybe a square side. But folks, sometimes square is sharp. Squares have four sides, Tim, and those can poke you too. They're like ninja stars if you just extend those out just a little bit further. So I'm square here. I like Ignacio Bahamondes, and I do think from what we've seen with Ľudovít the last couple fights, I think he can find him in there, Tim. I think he'll knock him out at some point in this fight.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really tough spot for Ľudovít. It just like you said. I mean, I was like really kind of like when he came into the UFC, I was like, I don't know about this guy. I was not sure. And then he gets the head kick. I'm like, I think I predicted before when he got to the UFC, I'm like, these head kicks just are not going to last. Like, you're not going to just keep getting head kicks in the UFC. And then his first fight in the UFC, he finishes with a head kick. And I'm like, okay, that didn't look too good. But ultimately, it turned out to be true. Like, ultimately, it's like, hey, you can't rely on a head kick knockout. I mean, obviously, Justin Gaethje just got it. There's certain situations where this happens, but like a head kick knockout is like such a low percentage outcome that I just don't think that. And now you add the fact that the guy that he's going to try to head kick is 7 inches taller than him or 8 inches taller than him. It's like it's going to be really tough to get up there and jump kick again. It's that much taller than you. So add the his lay and pray tactics and his ability to go for subs. Is this really not going to be easy to get a guy that's this much taller than him who has pretty good understanding of what he needs to do on takedown defense, and virtually everybody that fights him wants to get him down on the ground or would try to. I'm really interested actually in this fight. A sneaky prop. Obviously the KO is a good prop, but I think a sneaky prop on this one might be a sub. Because we've seen like Bahamondes get the sub, and I actually cashed in his sub a couple fights ago. And I'm not saying like he's a good submission grappler. He's not. But like Ľudovít makes mistakes, and this is a fight where he could be getting pieced up, and then he tries to like shoot a takedown on the cage, or he tries to like clinch on the cage, and then you get this guy who's just so much bigger and so much has the leverage, and he just goes, all right, I'll take it, just like Kevin Holland did against Chiesa, where you're just like, all right, I'll darce you, I'll take the gilly, yeah, I'm tall, I can just sit here and stand on it and then not even go to the ground, and I could still get you on this. And if it's not there, I just feel like that'll probably set up a couple times in this fight or he'll like use a gilly to like get out of position and then push away and then start piecing him up in the feet. But I feel like there's going to be a sub attempt from him. And I feel like it's going to be like a standing sub attempt to just be like, I'm way bigger than you and you're not going to get me down. So I'm not I'm not saying that it's like something I think is going to really happen, but I'll be interesting if they hang like a really big line on that, assuming that Ľudovít is the way better grappler and he's going to do it. I'll probably take a small stab at that, but I'm with you. I think inside the distance, or just in Ignacio, just in general, it doesn't have to be inside the distance, but his money line is fine by me. I feel it's a really good matchup for him, and should be standing, and he should be able to beat him with volume, to beat him with length, and just have pretty much an advantage everywhere on the feet.
I would think so too, and that's a really good call though on the sub prop, because he's got those long, lanky arms, man. We'll talk about Kennedy, here in just a little bit. But that standing power guillotine that we've seen from guys like that, John Jones pulled that off against Lyoto Machida comes to mind. With those long arms, they just have such an easy time cranking on the necks of shorter fighters that get in there just a little bit too deep on those long legs. So I think that's probably a decent call, man. Good look. Ignacio is a guy you want to play inside the distance. He can finish it both KO or sub. So like if KO's like plus 110, and inside the distance is minus 125, there's probably not enough juice there. It's not worth the squeeze to go KO. Just take ITD and lay this light chalk there if that's kind of the way you're looking. Glad to hear we're both on the inside the distance train there. Dabby Cab in the house, one of the Pub Sports Radio personalities here, just an absolutely awesome guy here. And speaking of which, I am sorry to hijack the show just one more time here. Dabby popping in here really reminded me, folks, one of the reasons I've always done this show is to help people. First and foremost, I'm a huge fan of MMA. Secondly, I'm a gambling degenerate. Like, that's what I do. That's why I started talking about this and telling people about my picks and bets in the first place. We're just here to have fun. But I'm also trying to give you all the information I can so that you can go out there and make good bets and make good money. And I try to lead that by example, obviously. Ups and downs, we've seen it. You can't win everything all the time. But when people do follow and make money, it's the best thing in the world. So Dabby got hit up by a buddy of his who apparently listened to my show last week. And using the preview, the breakdown, the analysis, he had a bonus on DK, Tim. And he lined that bad boy up with Kevin Holland sub round 1, Jake Matthews by sub, Bomb Theme by sub round 1, and then Derek Lewis by KO TKO. The bonus bet that he used paid $2,583. And Tim, my guy, went out and paid off his credit card. Like that. That's the wholesome shit that I'm here for. So the fact that he went out and after having a score that way, didn't just throw it all back on MLB and lose it right back to the bookies. He improved his life with it because he paid off his credit card. I'm so happy he shared that story with me. So Dabby Cab, thank you for bringing that up here in the chat and reminding me. And Jordan, congratulations on that huge score, and congratulations on being debt free. That means the absolute world to me. Next up here, we've got Tanner Boser taking on Aleksa Camur. And Tim, this fight hurts my head. It hurts my head. So Tanner Boser drops to 205, and it did not go well. Ion Cutelaba runs through this man at 205. Now, Tanner's always been a small heavyweight. His advantages at heavyweight have always been the quickness, the speed. He's so much faster than everybody up there, and that was what got him through. He was able to, bounce into range and connect with these real tight boxing shots in close, and that's how he won a lot of his fights at heavyweight. That's not there at 205, man. At 205, he's kind of a big, lumbering, slower type of fighter because Ion Cutelaba's hand speed, it wasn't close. When Tanner came in with some big shots, Ion was countering him. And folks, I've never, ever described Ion Cutelaba as a solid counter striker. He made this man look silly in there. Now, I will give him just a little bit of credit. Tanner Boser was not out in that spot. His durability, Tim, I think is still very much intact. He got cracked by Ion and backed up, but he was up. His eyes were clear. And then he got caught with a hook up against the cage. And I'm sorry, when I say hook, I mean underhook. He was like pinned up against the fence. And Ion was just, second grade bullying him right in the face with those shots. And the ref pulled him off. He was not out. He was not unconscious. He was still with it. But it's a spot where you're not defending yourself and the ref has to step in and save you. So I'm not convinced Tanner Boser is just broken and busted and he can't take a punch at 205. not the way I'm seeing this thing go. But I'm also not impressed by his lack of speed and athleticism down a weight class. His opponent, Aleksa Camur, 6-2. I've been so low on this guy. Like I faded him in back-to-back fights, and in fact, cashing a ticket on my guy Will Knight against Aleksa Camur was one of the reasons I felt like Will Knight might actually be half decent, and kind of fooled me into losing more money on him later on in his UFC career. But Aleksa Camur is just god awful. He's so bad. But he's been gone for 2 years. And you know what, Tim? The very first thing I thought of was, you know what? This is Stipe's kid. Stipe absolutely loves this guy. He's young. He took 2 years off. This is that spot where he comes back and he's just a badass, right? Take 2 years off to train, round out the skill set, muscle up, get your man strength going, come back. He's ready to take over. No. He had a surgery. He was out with an injury. And that's where I'm like, damn it, man. Like, so is he going to has he been in the lab? Has he just been recovering from surgery this whole time? Is he even going to be any better? Because if he comes back looking the way he did when he left, I want every opportunity to fade this guy. I just don't think I want to fade him using Tanner Boser. Like, he flashes moments of brilliance. I guess he's like a 3 times Golden Gloves boxing champion, but his boxing isn't anything special. He's basic with his boxing. The basics work. I'm not insulting that. The basics absolutely work, but he hits hard. He's got a good solid power jab. He's got a nice lead check left hook. His right hand is money, but that's it. It's like on repeat. Jab, jab, 1-2, jab, jab, check hook. Like, that's all he does. That's all he does. One and done pot shots, and then he throws spinning shit. He's the guy that when he gets tired and you're like, why are you spinning when you're exhausted? That's this guy right here. He walks his opponents. He's constantly like circling away from his opponents and tries to walk them into like those big hooks. And he does have a solid uppercut on him, but you can see it coming a mile away. I bet Ledet against this guy, Tim. Like, if that tells you what I think of this man, I bet Justin Ledet against Aleksa Camur. So I can't sit here and tell you that I've got any faith, any hope in Aleksa Camur at this point. He's a plus 140 dog. Tanner Boser's money line seems to be coming down a little bit. He's minus 165 now, it looks like. And this is just gross. Like, I don't even have a prediction. So if Aleksa Camur has made any improvements at all, he's the younger guy. Honestly, looks like he's the guy that hits harder. He probably can win this fight. But if he's not all the way back from a surgery, if he hasn't made those improvements, if he's still just the same old Aleksa Camur that we've seen time and time again, I kind of hope Tanner Boser brings back the leg kicks. If he dances around the cage, kicks the crap out of that leg, this is a guy who's not going to take him down. This is a guy who's not going to have the cardio to wrestle him for 15 minutes. Tanner Boser's IQ is a massive problem to me, Tim. The fact that he refuses to get a wrestling coach and work on his takedown defense and his get-up game. Instead, his solution is, no, I'll just cut more weight so I'm bigger and stronger at 205 and the guys can't control me for 15 minutes. That concerns me. Like, the refusal to round out your MMA game is like, can't trust you. So I've just got so much concerns on this one. I don't think I want to bet this fight, man. Soft lean Aleksa Camur. What do you got for me, man?
Yeah, my notes and my sponsors say do not bet this fight. This is basically this is 1-800-GAMBLER all over it. Maybe there's something live that you'll see that you can gain absolutely 100%.
The orderlies are coming after you on this one.
The orderlies are going to come and get you if you bet a decent amount of money on this fight. Again, I love to attack props more than anything. And I mean, maybe this is an end split. I don't know. Honestly, this is another one of those really ugly, don't know what to expect from either of these guys. And if they hang like a plus 600 or 650 on end split, I might take a shot on that. But yeah, Boser probably wins a decision, but not a huge Tanner Boser fan. And like you said, coming down to this weight class and then giving up your big advantage is, it's not like he has huge power either. So it's like, you're giving up your speed and you're not going to bonk dudes. So, yeah, probably I would pick probably a Boser decision, but not confident. Aleksa's one of the worst. Yeah, Aleksa's one of the worst to do it, in my opinion. So
he's so bad. Man, it's one of those things where, like, for me, and this is where totally, let me just, tinfoil hat this here. before he goes out, if he's young, he's training for a fight, you got 6 months of working and improving on your game, the injury happens, you're down for 6 months, you're studying during that time, you're working on fundamentals while you're healing, like that. There's a chance, like there's a slight chance that maybe he comes back a better fighter. And if that's the case, then maybe Camur's live, but that's a lot of hopium I'm huffing over here to get to a bet. So that ain't happening. Maybe a live entry, Tim. Maybe a live entry, because I think we'll find out real quick which one of these guys is better. That first round will tell us who the better fighter is on Saturday. Okay. Next up, everybody, we are getting down to the last couple of fights here. So once again, do us a favor, hit the like button, please, if you haven't already. That's the quickest, easiest way that you can support us, the show, Pub Sports Radio, and of course, my guy, Tim. Now, Tim doesn't directly feed from these likes because we're on my show. Follow this man on social media. Trust me, you want to be following Tim. You want to be following Narco because the Lambo Plays podcast has been putting money in people's pockets as well. So check these guys out, please. The next fight, Gavin Tucker takes on Diego Lopes, and I really need to download a clip. I need to have the segment of Obi-Wan going, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. Tim, I forgot about Gavin Tucker. I forgot all about this man in his layoff, and that's a shame. That's a real shame because I kind of expected him to be a bum. You know, the guy's got one of the fight names, one of the best fight nicknames in the business. He goes by Governor, and I'm sitting here going, Gavin Tucker, 37 years old, 13-2. I probably don't remember him because he sucks. And then I ran the tape back. I'm like, he actually has beautiful striking. I mean, big power in his left hand. He does a real nice job of dipping his head and rolling into range to use his boxing. He's got a solid left kick that snaps. It sounds like you're hitting wet meat with a baseball bat when he hits people with that thing. He mixes up his targets well too. He works the body. He goes high after he gets you to drop his hands. He'll throw the head kick 3-4 times in a row to open up your rib cage. He's got a stabbing teep kick to the body that I really like. And then once he's got you thinking about those kicks, he goes step in knee. He switches it up right when you crash into the pocket to avoid the big one, and he goes right up the middle. His striking is so much better than I ever remembered it being, and I don't know why. I've got a gap in my brain for Gavin Tucker. But he hasn't fought since 2021, when, once again, I guess it's a theme on this card for guys getting murdered by Dan Ige. He got knocked out in 2021 by Dan Ige, and now he's finally coming back. Strong wrestler, good top pressure, tight triangle choke. I mean, he showed toughness in round one when he gets dropped by Justin James, and that's really James' thing, right? Like Justin James, he'll crack you in round one, and if he doesn't get you out of there in round one, he's not going to get you. So for this guy to take a clean shot, drop to the ground, and then still be able to get back up and fight his way in that fight, I love the toughness. He's got good sub-D, never been submitted, but the 53% takedown defense, a little questionable. The 37 years old, a little questionable. But he's bringing Diego Lopes in here. Now, you guys should remember Diego Lopes for not only his performance on short notice against Movsar Evloev, but for that hair. This guy's got the emoest hair I've ever seen in the cage. You love to see it. He's 0-1 in the UFC, but he took that short notice debut against Movsar freaking Evloev. Like a guy that's got title aspirations. We all expect so much from Movsar. And Tim, if anybody runs that tape back, anybody not named Movsar Evloev gets submitted in that fight. Let's not talk about the sub that he had deep early. Let's not talk about the Kimura that he rolled for twice that almost worked. But the knee bar that was completely locked in and fully extended with 10 seconds left on the clock that anybody else's ligaments would have been shredded by. Movsar is, I'm not convinced you can tap the guy. With how flexible he is, it's a cheat code. I just don't think it's humanly possible to submit Movsar Evloev. So it's not a knock on Lopes for not being able to get the guy out of there, and he would have won that debut against literally anybody else. He's got a good jab, nice boxing. He likes that stiff low calf kick, and he's got big clubbing power shots on the feet. He's kind of your classic BJJ fighter where they want to hurt you on the feet. and then you either shoot a bad takedown on them or they'll club you down and get an advantageous position in the grappling after you're hurt. Not worried about going to war standing, because once it hits the ground, they think they've got the advantage there. I mentioned that Camur, Tim. I love the Camur. He can use it to sweep. He can use it to break out of situations. He can use it to get on top of people. He's very big and very physically strong for this weight class, and he's durable as fuck. Like, he fought Brito, Anderson Brito, on Dana White's Contender Series. Brito hit him with the kitchen sink, the dishwasher, the fridge. I mean, he threw the tub at him, and this guy just stayed in there and kept throwing. It wasn't until an eye poke at the end of that fight where, instead, for the weirdest reason, it wasn't a DQ. They stopped the fight for an eye poke, but they deducted a point and went to a technical decision instead of being a DQ. Like, Lopes could have been in the UFC after that Dana White's Contender fight if they had just done a DQ instead of a technical decision. Somehow Brito gets signed instead. Like, this guy should have been here. He's Grasso's freaking BJJ coach. I love everything I see from Diego Lopes. And I came in here fully expecting to bet on him, Tim. And the number's been moving. He was a short favorite, minus 120, minus 125. Now he's creeping up towards minus 150. It seems like the love's starting to pour in here for Diego Lopes. And I just think everybody kind of forgot about Gavin Tucker a little bit. Like, the guy's tough. He's never been submitted. His striking is clean. He's durable. This is going to go in the category of coin I don't need to flip, Tim. In these tight competitive lines, sometimes passing is the best option because it's so razor thin. Even if you pick the right side, to quote my guy Gianni, you're a product of good luck if you cash that ticket. Like, unless somebody's seeing something that I'm missing, which obviously is totally possible, I think that line is close to accurate. I think we're going to see a very competitive fight here. And I think everyone's going to pile in on Lopes because they remember this guy. So I think I'm passing. I will pick Lopes, but the wider this line gets, the less I want to bet that side. If I jumped on at minus 120, I'd be happy with that. I just don't want to get involved now.
Yeah, I get it. I think the question marks on Gavin being on the layoff are really the big factors for me. I think that, like, I think Gavin's a better wrestler, and I think he'll determine where the fight goes. Mm-hmm. So, in my opinion, like, it's just that like, let's just say that Gavin is the same fighter that he was 2 years ago. The last time we saw him pre Ige, that's just a nothing fight or nothing result. I don't know, man. I kind of tend to think that the striking for Tucker is better, like way better process. He's going to be at just like a tremendous disadvantage lengthwise and height-wise that he's going to need to be really processed because he's going to have to get into range. And like you said, Lopes is like, he throws big enough and he's dangerous enough, and he's like one of those guys that's going to take a shot so that he can get into range with you and potentially get you to grapple with him. So I kind of feel like if Gavin just like counter wrestles and stays at range with this guy and just tries to keep the fight on the feet, that'd be a really interesting fight. I don't think it'd be like a more entertaining fight to watch. I think I'd rather see these guys grapple and see who wins that on the ground, and that would be more entertaining for me. But from a betting perspective, like, if you told me that Gavin just counter wrestled and kept the fight on the feet, I would be interested in betting the Tucker side in this fight. But that's like, I don't know that he does. So, and I think the age and the size and all these different things that I'm with you on it's better to like just pass on this fight, or maybe bet live if you do see one of these guys having tremendous success. I always feel like I talk with a lot of cappers about this. Like, I always feel it's better to bet live and to pay whatever it is, 40 cents, even $1 more than I would pre-fight, knowing that I have the data that I didn't have, before the fight. And sometimes it's just like, if you have a women's MMA fight and you're just like, I don't know who's going to win the first clinch, and then you see who's in the clinch and you're like, all right, now I know. And then it was a minus 110 is now minus 200. It's like, give me that all day. I'll take that all day, and just knowing that I have that data. So I feel like a lot of times, we're afraid to pay. Oh, I missed the line or whatever. It's so yeah, but you now know that they're significantly stronger. They're way better in the clinch in a fight that's going to go most likely. And I just think there's so many advantages betting live in those spots and just paying for the data.
Okay. No, I like that, man. I like that. That's a great note for people to take on that. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I want to see this fight. I want to see this fight. And I don't mind the term paying for the data, but at the same time on a fight like this where I don't want to pay to lose. I don't want to pay to learn on this one. We'll see. If I feel more confident about it later, I definitely want to see how they size up. You guys know I do a lot of like the post weigh-in reads, which, by the way, Tim, if I could, just one more time, please. I got to pat myself on the back for this one. I was 0-2 on cash outs going into UFC 291. Like every time I've like gotten scared and gotten cold feet and I cashed out on a bet, fighter comes home clean. Like the read was perfect. It was spot on. I got scared over nothing and I just, didn't cash a ticket. Going into UFC 291, I was on Vinicius Salvador. And the way he looked on the scale, I was like, okay, so my read was he's going to fade as this fight goes on and CJ's going to work his way back into it. I don't want to be on a guy who looks like he's at death's door at elevation in that circumstance. So I hit the cash out button and I'm sitting there going, of course, he's just going to like step in, knee knock CJ out in the first round or some shit. I knew it was coming. Nope. CJ lost the first round. And then not only that, Tim, I flipped the script. I bet on CJ live. And he comes through, cashes the ticket. That felt damn good. So even the Friday undefeated post weigh-in show reads are on, folks. Even those are on point right now. That's what I'm waiting for on this one. I want to see what Gavin Tucker actually looks like. Obviously, Lopes is going to be much larger. Obviously he's going to have a height and reach advantage. I want to see these guys stand next to each other and see just what that physicality looks like. I wouldn't hate anybody that wants to go inside the distance or sub prop or something like that on Lopes. In fact, that'll probably make it into my submission special this week. Could we go back to back, Tim? Is there any chance one time we could go back to back? I probably will have to put Lopes by sub in the sub special this weekend.
Yeah, I like it. Got to take a shot.
Got to take the shot. Yeah, that's, for those parlays, it's always shots that it's funny. I go 2 out of 3 a lot because it's like stuff that I'm either not quite comfortable on to make like a full-sized real bet. So I'm like, oh, fuck it. I'll just tie it with something else that I'm kind of wishy-washy on, and we'll see what happens. I hit usually on average, I hit like 2 a year. So they pay for all of the misses. They're for fun. You know what I mean? But when the big ones hit, like this one, if I hit like a 24-1 or something for a quarter unit sprinkle, it's like, yay, like it pays for the losses. That's the idea. But hitting the big ones, that's a little bit more. That one tips the scales in my favor. All right, here we go, folks. 3 fights left. Let's get this thing done with here. Dustin Jacoby takes on Kennedy Nzechukwu, and it is my second bet of the evening, Tim. I only have 2. So far, I only have 2 plays on this card. Dustin Jacoby, another guy that's done that, Twitter call-out thing. I mean, I'm taking L's left and right with the fighters here on this card, Tim.
Hey, Marshall! You ever get tired of being wrong? I do! I really do, but I'm tired!
Literally me on this card. So he's come after me. This is a fight where I have been riding my boy Kennedy Nzechukwu. Absolutely love the guy. Crazy frame for the weight class. He's big, he's tall, he's strong, training over at Fortis MMA, 31 years old. Seems like his brain is finally like catching up to his body. He didn't quite know how to use it, how to work it. His last couple fights, he's been incredible. He'll kind of rope-a-dope you in that first round. If you get off on him, he'll let you punch yourself out until you slow down. Then he takes over the fight. Nasty knees, nasty elbows, intelligent long jab. He can keep you at range if he really needs to. He minds that distance so people can't touch him. But Tim, the one little thing about my guy Kennedy, I worry about his chin. Like every time he gets touched, he just looks so bad. He doesn't intelligently defend himself. Like he literally just shells and prays when he gets touched. And especially in his last fight. Like I called the sub on Devin Clark, which just executed to perfection by my guy Kennedy in that spot. But Clark rocked him badly in the first round of that fight. And folks, if there's ever a red flag, it's getting rocked on the feet by Devin Brown Bear Clark. Like that guy's a wrestler. You do not get rocked by Brown Bear. And if you do, that puts you in a category of fighters that I don't want to talk about. Kennedy, I have very big concerns with that durability. Now, Dustin Jacoby's on a 2-fight skid, fighting out of Factory X, 35 years old. I wonder if he's maybe taken that slight turn for the worse. Seems like he's a little slower than before. Seems like he's a little more predictable than before. In his last fight against Azamat, no shame getting hurt by that guy. Azamat hits like a truck. But when he got hit, it like froze Dustin in that fight. Now, I don't know if that's just because Azamat hits that damn hard, or if Dustin's starting to trend the wrong direction with an 18-7 record, 35 years old, a kickboxing career before MMA. You got to wonder if that's starting to take a toll on him at this point. This is a fight that I think a lot of people are going to line up to bet Kennedy because of recent form on, and I'm scared shitless, Tim. This is a very enticing price tag on a young fighter that seems to be the guy the UFC would want to push, that seems to be the guy on the rise, versus a fighter people are leaving for dead, just like Derek Lewis last week. The bet I made, under 2.5. I got plus 110 on the under 2.5. Give me violence, because we have seen that Dustin Jacoby's got pop in those hands. He's been able to put people away before. And I think if you tag Kennedy the right way, he will crumble. Especially a guy that's got this kind of a striking advantage on him. He'll find those gaps. He'll find those openings. Dustin Jacoby could absolutely win this fight by knockout. And even though Dustin's been relatively durable throughout the course of his career, like I mentioned, I think he's starting to fade a little bit. And if he is fading, Kennedy's the type of guy that'll kill you. He just gets in there in the clinch with those knees and those nasty elbows, even if the ref has to pull him off, or if he sinks up another one of those chokes. I think Kennedy is more than capable of finishing a guy like Dustin Jacoby at this point of his career. I don't need to pick a side. I'm just going under at plus money. I will side with my guy Kennedy Nzechukwu just for the sake of the record, for everybody to know what side I'm on, riding with my guy. But I think violence is the better play.
I don't hate that. I just think that Dustin's durability has been pretty good in taking shots. I mean, I think that especially if it's if it's standing, I just think it'd be hard to get a standing KO for Kennedy against Dustin, but it is possible. He hasn't been reacting as well. I think if the fight gets to the ground, though, I feel like that's where I feel like a positional TKO or a sub or something like that. I think you could definitely hit it. I feel like Dustin's finish equity in KOing Kennedy is more live to hit your under than the KO from Kennedy standing. But I agree, man. I think that the youth and the huge size, 2 inches taller, 6-7 inch reach advantage.
It's crazy.
That he's just
freaking foot.
Yeah, he's just an alien. I mean, like, he's a complete alien.
That's a good way to put it.
I feel like he's also a freakish athlete, and just these guys that are just freak athletes, they just get better and better and better at shit when you train them and you just keep going through more and more reps. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not, when in talking about your under, I'm not trying to shit on it. I'm scared about it. I don't know how this fight ends. I feel like it could be close, standing fight. It could be a close decision for either one of the guys. I would lean Kennedy, just because, like you said, the last performance I've been on the Dustin train like big time. And I even bet him against Azamat, but I wasn't really as confident in that fight. But I just feel like he has been declining. He has been slowing down. He hasn't been kicking as much. There's a lot of like little details of his games that he just hasn't been just fighting as well as he can. So, yeah, I mean, I think if gun to head, I would pick Kennedy. Maybe, I don't know. I honestly don't know on the prop. I'm going to have to look into it a little bit more and kind of like think if I think that he's going to grapple a lot in this fight. I mean, if Kennedy grapples in this fight, I really feel like he's going to fucking murder him. So your under is really live if he grapples. But I think if he doesn't grapple, I think this probably goes 15 and it's going to be pretty close.
Okay. I'm fine with taking the plus money shot. And of course, Tim, I want you to disagree with me. Let's be as honest and truthful with the people as you possibly can. Don't worry about it. I'm not some tyrant on my show that you're not allowed to go against. I want to hear it. If I'm missing something and you're on the other side, and especially if you're passionate about it, like, I want to know, like, I want to hear that other side of the story, because maybe it's something that I missed out on. In this one, I think plus money is good money. You know what I mean? Like I'm surprised the under opened at plus 110. I would have thought it would have been a pick 'em or maybe like a minus 125 to the under with the form that both these guys have been showing recently. Maybe you're right. Maybe Dustin Jacoby can take enough of a beating that he still can force this thing to an over. Totally possible. I'm kind of buying in on the upside here of Kennedy being able to crack him and get that finish. And then I think I've got a low floor as well because I know Kennedy can get cracked and get put away by Jacoby too.
Yep.
Let's move on to the co-main event. But before we get there, a challenge has been issued. I'm sorry, Ethan, I didn't see it. You want a tiebreaker? You want a tiebreaker, baby? Let's run it. Let's run it. He wants Ľudovít Klein. And I guess that means I am taking my guy Ignacio Bahamondes. And I'm happy to take that bet, Ethan. Same stakes as ever. You get 2 shots from me next week on Monday if you win that bet. And if you lose, you know, I take that 2-1 lead here, and you'll have to change that profile pick to Ignacio Bahamondes. So let's run it. Let's go. Co-main event this evening, everybody. Jessica Andrade takes on Tatiana Suarez. And Tim, I dug in deep to this one. I can't wait to talk to you about this one because I came in with a whole lot of baggage here. I've been DMing back and forth with my guy Keg. You know, he's the NASCAR guy, but he's also one of the sharpest MMA guys I know, and we talk every single week about these fights. And he is Tatiana Suarez's unofficial husband. Like this, he loves this girl, and for a good reason. She's an incredible wrestler. Like we rolled out the red carpet for her return last time, told the whole story, everything that happened to her, you know, the injury to her neck that ended up leading to a scan that caught the cancer that saved her life because she got hurt for MMA. And that's why she's been gone so long. She's just an incredible talent. All the people who had belts when she was here, Carla Esparza finished her. Like, you know what I mean? Like she just was she was a wrecking ball. She was coming for the belt before she had to take a break from MMA. 9-0, undefeated, Mrs. Patchy Mix apparently, which that speaks just wonders to me because Patchy Mix is a crazy, incredible talent himself as well. I expected to anchor every single bet I made with Tatiana Suarez. And I'm telling you, Tim, I was going to give out every single official pick, and I was going to like line them up and list them and be like, I like this money line. We parlay it with Suarez. I like this money line. We parlay it with Suarez. Like I'm just going to use Tatiana Suarez to get even money or plus money on every single pick I make this week because she will smash this version of Jessica Andrade. And then I ran the tape. Tim, Andrade might be the Derek Lewis y'all must have forgot this week. She's 24-11. She looks like she's speed running her new contract. trying to get through these fights as fast as humanly possible. And we've seen everything from Andrade. It's always the same thing, right? She comes forward. She's aggressive. She wings those big old powerful hooks. She's fast. She can rack up the damage in a short amount of time with how quick she is and how hard she hits. She's a BJJ black belt, and it feels like she's been kind of exposed in her last couple of fights. And I kind of feel like people are grading her just a tidbit too harshly. So let me explain. In her last fight against Yan Xiaonan, it was a get the bad taste out of my mouth of the Erin Blanchfield loss, right? She turned around as quickly as humanly possible and took that fight. And she was literally running Yan down. It was like a reckless aggression in that fight. And she got caught by a counter. She wasn't out, Tim. Like, Andrade was not unconscious from that counter. She popped back up. She started to defend. She started hunting for an underhook. And the ref pulls her off like it's over. And she was honestly baffled. She looked at the ref like, what are you doing? Like, she got caught with a big punch and sat down. She literally ran into the fist of Yan Xiaonan. But I don't think she was as hurt as people are making it out to be. Now, the Erin Blanchfield fight, she's fighting up at 125. Her natural weight class, or her most effective weight class, I guess I should say, because her natural was 125. Her most effective weight class is the 115, where she's got that strength and power advantage. She was actually doing really well against Erin Blanchfield early in that fight. Early on, she was having success striking, and Erin was doing a good job countering. What really led to the end was the trip takedown from the body lock. Caught her off guard, but then there's the wardrobe malfunction. she was saying that she was distracted by the wardrobe malfunction, and it didn't lead to the takedown happening, Tim. It led to the pass, because Erin Blanchfield stepped over and jumped into side mount faster than I've ever seen anybody pass. And nobody, literally nobody, has ever passed Jessica Andrade's guard that quickly. It doesn't happen. That's because she was trying to pull her shirt down in that moment. So the takedown happened. That's all Erin. Can't take a dang thing away from her. But that pass, I don't know that that happens without the wardrobe malfunction. And then, of course, the rest is history. She jumps on her back and chokes her out almost immediately. I'm not sure those two losses are the story of Jessica Andrade at 31 years old. This is another spot, like Black Beast last week, where the price tag is she's shot, she's dead, she stands zero chance whatsoever. If you run back some of Tatiana Suarez's fights, so in her last fight, she takes the opportunity against Montana De La Rosa at 125. Her natural weight class is the 115, but it's been so long for her coming back that she didn't want to risk losing the fight on like a weight cut or anything like that. So she takes the fight at 125. She mauls Montana De La Rosa early in that fight. She's one step ahead in the grappling. But in the second round, she starts to slow down. In the second round, Montana De La Rosa starts to have some success. And it's not until Montana makes a mistake that she jumps on a guillotine and taps her out. And that seemed like it seemed inevitable when the fight started that Montana De La Rosa was going to get finished by Tatiana Suarez. But 30 seconds before it happened, I thought we were headed for a split decision, Tim. That fight was turning into a slog that was getting competitive the deeper that it went. And then I dug deeper. You go back against Nina Nunez, Mrs. Nunez, the other side of our champion, retired champion. God bless. She went to a decision in that fight with Nina. And that's a Diaz fight, Tim. If Nina Nunez was booked in a 5-round main event against Tatiana Suarez, she wins that fight. It was the first time Tatiana wasn't in the driver's seat in her entire career. And she started huffing and puffing. Nina was able to defend a ton of takedowns in that fight. She was able to make this girl work. And when she made her work, Tatiana started to fade. And you know what we really saw in that fight, Tim? Tatiana still has no striking to speak of. It is so basic. She's got these weird leaping inside kicks. She does have a nice calf kick, but it's always naked, which means she's going to be there to get countered. Erin had success on the feet because she was countering Andrade and landing big punishing shots. If Tatiana Suarez had the striking, that would open up the grappling, but she doesn't. Andrade is not going to be scared of a single punch coming back her direction. Yan Jianan sat down on a bomb and it dropped Jessica Andrade. That's never happening against Tatiana Suarez. And when you see Jessica Andrade, when people get in on the body lock on her, when people hit double legs, when people get in on single legs, her balance is incredible. Erin Blanchfield had a real hard time getting this girl down to the ground. She has got, let me get the number here, 73% takedown defense still after all this. Blanchfield went 1 of 3 on her takedowns. So people think she's just been exposed and her grappling is awful and it's going to come easy. Blanchfield had a real hard time getting to her. I don't think Jessica Andrade is washed yet. I don't think Jessica Andrade is dead yet. The deeper this fight goes, the more it favors her. I think she's going to have a tough time in round 1. You're going to get Tatiana Suarez grabbing that body lock. You're going to get her maybe landing a takedown on her because she's big, she's powerful, she's strong. But if she does not finish Jessica Andrade in the first round, Tim, this fight gets real hairy. This fight gets real hairy going into round 2. And in fact, it gets nasty going into round 3. I think the round 3 KO sprinkle on Andrade, that's happening, folks. I am betting round 3 TKO Jessica Andrade. And I've been trusting my balls all year, Tim. I've been doing it all year. It's worked out real well. I don't know if I've got the balls to bet this thing pre-flop. I'll be watching extremely closely on that first round to see what that looks like. Because again, in this spot, it's going to tell us a lot. If Tatiana wins in round 1, which is totally possible, it's on the table, then obviously I don't want to be on the Andrade money line. But if she does not win in round 1 and this thing heads to a round 2, I want to be on Jessica Andrade the deeper this fight gets. Do you guys not remember the absolute beating she put on Lerone Murphy for 25 straight minutes? The pace, the cardio, the pressure. What's that?
You said Lerone Murphy.
Oh, gee. Yeah. Andrade pounded Lerone. No, I'm sorry. Lauren Murphy. We just watched Lerone Murphy fight a couple weeks ago. Mix up with the name. I apologize. I think Andrade is live, Tim. I'm sorry. I know that was long-winded, everybody. I know that was long-winded, but like I said, I dove in deep onto this fight because I fully expected to be parlaying more money than would be healthy on Miss Tatiana Suarez. And I came away going, I don't think I want my money anywhere near her at minus 425. What do you make of this fight, Tim?
I mean, I respect it. It's a great breakdown. You're definitely going to be on an island on this one this week for sure. I feel like everybody you did that last week, so I'm scared on my confidence on Suarez because I'm pretty confident on the Suarez side.
That's the thing. Everybody's like stupid confident on Suarez, and I'm like,
yeah, it's more. I mean, honestly, I think Andrade is getting to the point where she's kind of glass cannon-y like now. Like she's starting to really just in certain hammer spots, I hammer the shit out of her. And when she's a nail, I hammer the shit out of her opponents. I just love betting. Yeah. I just love betting on Andrade fights. I really do. And Suarez to me, I think that the last performance against De La Rosa, I feel like everybody just felt like it was just going to be such a smash spot insta kill that like your reaction and your read of it is kind of what I feel everybody is like we've forgotten that she's actually that was probably a bad performance for her. And she was probably fighting safer a little bit at first, trying to get the cobwebs off. And I feel like that was not the normal. I feel like it just wasn't the normal performance from her. All of her entire game is based on her wrestling. I feel like she's 5 to 6 times better a wrestler than Erin Blanchfield is. Like Blanchfield's not a great wrestler. Like she's okay. She's trips. She's things like that. Like she's not a great wrestler though. Suarez is a great wrestler. She's an elite wrestler. So I feel like that's the difference to me. I feel like on the ground, it's going to be situation. There's going to be multiple situations where like the positions that Shevchenko is getting on Andrade is just, this is like the bread and butter of Suarez. Like this is exactly what she does. This is her exact game. She's going to move to positions. She's going to I wouldn't be shocked if she gets a crucifix. I wouldn't be shocked if she gets a KO crucifix or like a position where Andrade is just totally fucked on her back and can't move. Would not be shocked at all on that. I wouldn't be shocked if she gets subbed early either. I just feel like she does a lot of things getting up and she just gives up her back. She just does a lot of over aggressive moves to get back on the feet. So I just think all of this sets up for Suarez's game, and minus, like you're saying, like minus I kind of lean like early bonk. Like if it does, I mean, if she doesn't finish her in the round 2 and she does a lot of damage, then you're right. I think that the round 3 is probably there, but I think it's like she's got to connect on her when she's trying to get an early takedown. Really bonk or bust for me for Andrade. I really feel like this is a early round 1. Yeah.
I like that. Bonk or bust. This is a wonderful new term. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. And this one, I mean,
you can't be that wrong on plus 350 or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing though. That number's coming down, Tim. Like market wide, the number is coming down. Everyone and their mother is parlaying up Tatiana Suarez. And yet Andrade is falling from being a plus 350, plus 330 down to plus 300, plus 275, plus 240. Like somebody somewhere, money's coming in on Jessica Andrade, but everybody's parlaying their life savings on Tatiana Suarez. I think this might be the almost a forgot spot of the week. Now, again, folks, we're talking sports betting, right? If we're taking a 3-1 underdog, you've only got to be right 1 out of every 4 times you bet that to be profitable making that pick. We could be tearing this ticket up. Tatiana Suarez might take her down, maul her for a minute. Once Andrade gives up the back, she taps her. It could be over in round 1. It really could be that simple. I'm just saying that this line I don't think is indicative of where they're at skill-wise. And one other point, Tim, real quick before we move on that I do want to make. While Suarez is the much better technical wrestler, and I fully 1,000% agree with you on that, The thing with Jessica Andrade is it's all physicality. She causes car crashes with people. And Erin Blanchfield is the same height as Tatiana Suarez. She's about twice as thick. She's a big, beefy girl. And that was the thing, is she was able to overpower Jessica Andrade and get her to the floor. Technical takedowns, we've never really seen those work on Jessica Andrade. You look at her takedown defense rating throughout the rest of her career, I think it's actually a little misleading that it's 73% because she gave up 7 to Valentina Shevchenko in that fight. She was absolutely undersized and understrength against somebody who's a monster like Valentina Shevchenko, and it showed in the fight. Those 7 takedowns are what really ruined her takedown defense rating. Like, you go back, Tisha Torres got 2 takedowns on her. Andrade flipped the script and got 10 of her own in that same fight. But who else landed takedowns on Jessica Andrade besides Tisha Torres and Valentina freaking Shevchenko? Rocky Pennington did way back in the day. Nobody takes this girl down. Nobody takes down Jessica Andrade at 115 pounds. I think the physicality might be a problem for someone like Suarez if she can't get it done early. And yes, Ethan, Clint be crazy. All right. That's the breakdown, folks. Tim, I wasn't expecting any backup on that one. I'm expecting to be on an island. I don't think anybody's going to like that opinion, and especially my guy Keg, because he's leading the charge on Tatiana Suarez to be winning this fight. And as soon as I decided I might look the other way, I felt instant shame. I think I'm going to be very much alone on this one. But so I think here's the plan, guys. Here's the plan. I think because the number's dropping, I am going to bet Andrade. I'm coming off a 31 unit night. I'm betting fucking Jessica Andrade. I'm going to trust these balls. And then if she survives that first round, we add more live, because there's no way, unless, like Tim says, unless she bonks her early, that number's going to be better going into round 2. You know, if she gets taken down and is on her back for 5 minutes, she'll be 6-1 going into round 2. And then we just hit it again. We add as much as we want after round 1 and see if I'm right, see if I'm crazy like a fox. And if we want more money on it, we take it at that point. But I think 1 unit at 3-1, I think that's the move. All right, everybody. We have got over 250 live viewers here on the show. Thank you all for rocking with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Tim, for being here to break these fights down here with me. Everybody give my guy a follow. Main event time. Here we go. Cory Sandhagen takes on Rob Font. I'm just going to cry one more time that this isn't Cory Sandhagen versus Umar. This was going to be just such a smash spot, Tim. People would be like, Clint, you got to hedge that 50-1 because if he wins this, he gets the title shot. Hedge. Fuck no. Umar was going to destroy Cory Sandhagen. Y'all are being sold wolf tickets on this kid. This was going to be a one-sided landslide, and I would have tripled down on my guy Umar to beat Cory. But it's a different matchup. It's a different game. Cory Sandhagen, very tall, very lanky, flowy striker. He's got the spinning kicks. He stays out of range well. He's hard to find. He's actually starting to mix in takedowns. Like, for a guy that we felt like the grappling and wrestling was his weakness, he started to mix in offensive takedowns of his own. The jiu-jitsu seems to be something he's really worked on. He's threatening people with subs of his own every time he touches the ground. Very well-rounded skill set and good, solid game for Cory Sandhagen. I'm very impressed with everything we've seen from this guy. Rob Font, I was ready to leave this guy for dead. Man, when he got busted up back-to-back by Aldo and Vera, it was just like, he's dead, man. He's dead. He's done. He's gone. Even though I acknowledge that he might be a better boxer than Adrian Yanez, never expected him to knock him out. Like, that was maybe the biggest y'all must have forgot moment of this year, second only to Derek Lewis, when Rob Font comes out and knocks the block off of Adrian Yanez. I did not see that coming, Tim. His toughness cannot be understated. He's only been finished once by sub. And even though his face is swollen, broken, bloodied against some of the nastiest finishers in this weight class, he just doesn't fall. Like, I don't know what it's going to take to knock out Rob Font at this point. I think we're going to get a very competitive fight here. I honestly don't like this line very much. I'm picking Sandhagen. I think Sandhagen is the right side. I think he's got the higher ceiling, the higher upside, and he kind of makes his way through this fight. But I'm done doubting Rob Font, man. I'm not doing that again. And I don't like the minus 315. I feel like, yet again, that's being a little disrespectful of Rob Font. It will be the kicker versus boxer situation. And I think Rob is going to have a hard time finding Cory in there if he doesn't want to get touched by those hands. And the kicking range is going to obviously benefit Sandhagen. He'll be able to score and move. And I just think he's going to outland Rob Font that way. I think this one's probably going over, but I guess Cory by decision. That'll be my guess on this one. I am not confident in this main event this week, Tim. I like the co-main event a whole lot better. What do you like here?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Cory's a good side. I think the line is a little bit wide, but yeah, I think he's a better striker. She's just quicker, just a little bit more dynamic, younger at this stage in the game. Has a little, like, I don't know. I just feel like the process and the reads that he makes, they're really good. And I just feel like the problem that I have with him is that he fights closer and closer and closer in all of his decisions. And it's like, he's always like losing these really close decisions to guys where I think he might even have won the fight against TJ. I think he definitely won the fight against TJ. I think he might have even, Jan was really close too. I don't think he won against Jan, but I thought it was close. I just think he fights close. So this will be probably a Sandhagen by decision, and then hoping that they hang like a 5-1 on end split or something like that. Maybe take a small stab at that. If anything, I think it might be a closer volume from Font, and he can maybe get some jabs off. But yeah, I lean Cory by decision.
Okay. I'm glad to hear we agree on that one. And guys, I'm sorry that the main event breakdown wasn't spicier for all of you, with me and Tim agreeing real quick there on that one. But I feel like it's pretty cut and dry the way it kind of plays out, the way that it looks. And I like it. I think we're on the same side there. It's an easy spot though with the money lines, Tim. If you are a parlayer, if you want to do the thing where you anchor with somebody, this is a good spot. It's a good spot. You've got a 3-1 favorite in the main event. Easy hedge out on the plus 250 on the other side if you want to find that parachute ripcord and make sure you're at least breaking even or profiting slightly on something if you get there. Definitely gonna go and listen to my guy here with always trust your balls. That's the deal. Tim, my friend, thank you so much for breaking down this fight card with me, man. I know it's a rough one. It's a little sketchy. The fights are wishy-washy. This is going to be a good fight card, I think, for people to be a little light on, be a little careful out there. You don't need to swing for the fences necessarily this week. I could see a lot of people falling for traps and ending up in bad spots, but I think we did a pretty good job, man.
Thanks again for having me, man. This has been a blast.
It's been fun, man. It's been fun. Real quick, let me go ahead and shout out my guy here, Ricky Chow. Suarez will look minus 1,000. Let's see here. What do you use for research other than Fight Pass? Ricky, thank you first and foremost so much for the donation. Thank you very much, my friend. I use basically every resource available to me. Most of it's just I have ESPN Plus, obviously. I pay for a subscription since it's work related. I need to see all the previous fights. Half of them are on UFC Fight Pass. The other half are on ESPN Plus. So those are the ones that I use mainly. And then I think it's MMA Core is the site that I have found that's got a lot of like regional fighters, or like if you find blacked out fights where the UFC Fight Pass for whatever reason isn't letting you see them or whatever like that. MMA Core is one of those less than favorable websites, I guess we'll say, but it's got a lot of fights on it that you need to see, like some of the Dana White's Contender Series ones and stuff that you can't find out there elsewhere. So that's what I do for my research. And then of course the UFC stat page, that's where I get my height and reach numbers, the significant striking defenses, and all takedown defense, all that kind of stuff. Tim, kick it on back to you, my guy, real quick. Again, thank you again for coming on the show, man. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can support you, shows you've got coming up, whatever. Shout out whatever you want to, my guy. Now's your moment.
Awesome again being on here. It's been a blast. Now Narco Cop and I do I co-host with him on Lambo Plays on Friday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then Sean Orr and I do a Twitter Lives spaces to preview all the card. Basically at the end of the week when all the action has been done and we're like, is there any value here? Is there any value on any of these fights at this stage in the game? And then give our favorite plays. And then a lot of sharp cappers come on at the end of that and then give their favorite plays at the end of the show. But those are the two consistent shows that I'm on weekly.
Love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. Thank you again so much for joining me. Thank you, everybody out there that joined me on this podcast this week. Thank you guys for the love, the support, the journey. It's been a long 4 years, man. It's been a long 4 years doing this podcast. The ups, the downs, losing in front of everybody and just being embarrassed by everything I put out there for last year. And then to get right, and not only get right, but come all the way back up this year. You guys have really no idea. I almost cried the other day. Like, you guys have no idea what it means to me to be able to perform that way in front of you, to have the love and the support that this community has. And sometimes MMA people suck. There's a lot of people out there that like the sport of MMA who are not nice, who are not kind. And we've done a good job of building a wonderful community here. And you guys have always been there to back me up and lift me up when things haven't been going well. And it just means the world to me. It really does, you guys. It really does. Never give up, folks. I mean, to quote Galaxy Quest, man, never give up, never surrender. If you want to be good at something, don't be afraid to learn. And I think that's the biggest thing from this community, Tim, that we can take from each other is there's always somebody to learn from. This community used to be full of pissing contest people. They want to get their dicks out and measure every single week. I'm better than you. I don't want to listen to you. And there's still a lot of those people. You're still going to find a lot of those people. But the good ones are the ones who collaborate. The good ones are ones who listen to each other and hear opposing viewpoints and find little bits and pieces of people who they trust and respect that they can take and incorporate into their own games and make themselves better. And guys, I just encourage you, be that way. Be like water, flow, learn from the people around you. You're going to be better for it. Don't stay rigid. Don't feel like you know everything. And that's really been a key to my success this year is making some of those tweaks and adjustments and not thinking I'm the smartest guy in the room because I was hot shit the year before. That's all I got for you today. There's your sermon on the way out, everybody. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. See you next week right back here at Pub Sports Radio. We'll see you Thursday for the Total Takedown, Friday for the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show, and of course, the best damn betcast in the game on YouTube is going to be right here on Pub Sports Radio. But if you're not on YouTube, check out these boys and their live spaces because Narco and Tim and shout out Sean or all those guys are hanging out on Twitter in spaces and they slaughter it. They just kill it every single year, or not every year, sorry. Every single week in, week out, they find spots, live bets. It's a wonderful place to hang out if you're not on YouTube. So everybody get out there, kick some ass, make your moms proud. Good luck and let's roll.